Welcome to another episode of Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. This is First Down with Bennie Fowler, Week 3 edition, talking to a Super Bowl champion, former NFL wide receiver, about all the exciting action around the NFL, including some teams improving to 3-0. One of our contenders goes down in flames, at least for 1 week. And we talk about some insights and interesting developments with players and teams across the league. Stay tuned for that. We're proud here to be partnered with MyBookie. MyBookie is a sponsor here, and if you want to win this football season, you should do it in MyBookie's 10th year anniversary as they roll out the red carpet for bettors. If you use the promo code PATSPICKS through the link in all of my bios and profiles on social media, that's my YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, PL on NFL everywhere, and on my X account, PLeonardNYDN. Access it through the link. Use the promo code PATSPICKS, and you will get a 100% match on your first deposit of $50 or more, all the way up to $1,000, plus a $10 casino chip. Make your football season a winning season with MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Also brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink. Boom Chaga is a natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants and heart-healthy compounds. You can easily pour this natural liquid supplement into any of your favorite drinks. I put mine in my coffee every morning and immediately feel the difference. I personally have felt a post-workout like energy boost with Boom. Chaga also has the ability to lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve immune and heart health with its beta-glucans and antioxidants. Go to boomchaga.com today to place your first order, and if you use the discount code TalkingBall25 or access it through the QR code on your screen, you'll get 25% off your first subscribe and save order. Right now, that means a month's supply. Costs you only $30. Start feeling the difference today at boomchaga.com. Also brought to you by Estate 98 Coffee, an all-natural specialty coffee with no sugar that is convenient for on-the-go coffee drinkers like myself. It takes me less than 10 seconds to make a delicious Estate 98 iced coffee and only a minute more to make a hot coffee or latte from this all-natural concentrate. Go to estate98.com/talkingball to get a special buy one, get one free deal. And now on to First Down with Bennie Fowler. And we're back with the Week 3 edition of First Down with Bennie Fowler. Bennie, we saw some teams improve to 3-0 this week. One fall to 0-3. The Giants get a big win. It was exciting action. What did you think of it all?
Yeah, I mean, this is why the NFL is so great. And yes, shout out to the Giants getting the W, but I think, injuries are starting to play a part. And this is one of the things where teams, I wouldn't say separate themselves, but you can see who can step up in terms of injuries. I mean, you look at the 49ers injuries, you look at the Rams injuries. I mean, injuries are starting to come into play. And, this is how, do you have a real identity for your team? Can you actually take the next step? And that's what we saw a lot of Week 3 in terms of, who's going to step up, who are the real, I wouldn't say real contenders, because I think we still have to let that play out. We haven't gotten through the first quarter of the season, but no, it was good to see the Giants get a W. Malik Nabers, what a guy. And watching him play and then watching him really catch the ball. I think, just as being a former receiver, there are certain receivers like myself, I was more of a possession guy, catch the ball with my chest a lot and different things like that. And even one of the great players that I played with, Emmanuel Sanders, caught the ball with his body a lot. But Malik Nabers, all hands team right there. I mean, catching the ball with his hands, running through the ball, and then the 2 touchdowns that he caught the other day. Incredible plays. The one that was in the left corner of the end zone, I mean, that just shows how athletic he is. And then the dig route in the back of the end zone that Daniel threw on the money, just another hands catch. Strong hands. Reminds me a lot of a guy who used to wear number 13 there in terms of just the explosion and the yards after catch. So shout out to him. Shout out to DJ playing an efficient game, throwing the ball on the money, making plays, using his legs a little bit. And then Singletary at the end to ice it, wearing 26, but the 26 in Philadelphia is also doing some incredible things too.
No doubt. I have to admit, Betty, in the press box when we cover these games, it's no cheering in the press box is the saying, and largely you try to stay quiet, although obviously you make some comments here and there. I let out an oh shit when Nabers made that touchdown catch because he jumped so high. I mean, he even admitted after the game that he jumped higher than he even really expected. Like he said, he saw where it was going and didn't really think he was going to get it. And then that combined with the acrobatics, like contorting his body to stay in,
And
is
getting
just
both
really,
feet in too.
yeah. I mean, you play with a lot of great players. Like there's just something different about greatness. And of course, obviously, the great players, they stand out. But I'm talking about like the experience of watching a football game when there's a guy making plays that everyone else on the field, including all the professionals, are looking at saying, how the heck did he do that? Right. Like
Absolutely.
even Amari Cooper yesterday, like some of those, they were kind of picking on Deontay Banks. Amari Cooper was the way he was toe tapping and retaining the ball possession wise in tight coverage, right? On some of these fades or back shoulders. Like there can't be 15 guys who can make these plays.
No,
It's just
100%
it's
not.
just a privilege to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Malik Nabers, that's why you get drafted in the first round. Amari Cooper, another first round talent. First round talent separates themselves from the guys like me, undrafted guys. I mean, you could just see it. First round picks are freaks of nature, and those you just can't get people like that in every round. And Malik Nabers showed why.
Yeah, no doubt. One thing I wanted to hit on right off the bat, I wanted to go to the Sunday night game to start because Kansas City beats Atlanta 22-17.
Mhm.
But Benny, as I was getting some, 3 hours sleep or whatever in Cleveland before I flew back to New Jersey, I caught the end of this game and I was angry for the Falcons players because first of all, I don't love their offensive play calling, but mainly I'm talking about their game management. They're down 5 points. They have a 4th and 5 at Kansas City 6, and they go for it, throw an incomplete pass intended for Drake London. And then they end up back in the red zone with 56 seconds left, 4th and 1 at the 31. And Bijan Robinson gets stuffed for a 3-yard loss. Kansas City gets the ball, takes over, and runs out the clock. My question to you is, do players walk into a locker room after that, after they know they had the ball inside 5 minutes, twice in the red zone? They could have just kicked 2 field goals with a really good kicker, by the way, in Young Ho Koo, and beaten the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions. Do players sit at their lockers after that and shake their heads and say, like, our coaching staff helped us slip this through our fingers? Like, do they get frustrated about that? Or is that not something that a player would second guess coming off a game like this? Because I know I was first guessing it watching the game.
Yeah, I don't think the players would second guess it in terms of this because you're playing to win and you're playing to win against the defending Super Bowl champ. So I don't think that, if I was sitting in that locker room, like, hey, we should have just kicked 2 field goals because you don't know that you're going to stop Patrick Mahomes. Hey, you kick another field goal, with the type of player that he is and get the way he plays in the fourth quarter, you're not necessarily thinking like, oh, okay, like we got this in the bag and that, we're going to win this game. So as a player, I'm not second guessing it at all. It's like, hey, we should have executed. I forgot. I don't know if it was a drop slant or maybe the ball got tipped on the Drake London thing. And
It
then
got tipped, yeah.
Bijan Robinson, I mean, how dynamic he is in terms of the way he runs the ball and the way that they were running the ball pretty much all night. It wasn't necessarily a bad play call. They got to execute, but let's also give credit to Kansas City's defense at the end of that for making that play. But why would you second guess that in terms of who you're playing? And you know who you're playing. But this goes back to what we were talking about last week, is that when you are across the sideline from Kansas City, you have to play more aggressive because number 15 is on the other side.
Interesting. And so in general, do you think, even if it weren't the Chiefs, in general, do you think players are more prone to get behind a decision when it is aggressive versus like being tentative from a coach's standpoint? Look at Dan Campbell in Detroit, for example. Like that's a sentiment in general that players can get behind. Like we're being aggressive to win.
Yeah, and especially who they have out there and who they were calling the plays for. Drake London,
Got it.
incredible player. Kirk's the quarterback who is, was a proven veteran and who had made some really good throws at the end of that game and who can make clutch throws. And they just were aggressive just the other night against Philadelphia, and it worked out for them. So why not kind of go for it? We're on Sunday Night Football. Let's go play to win. We're not playing not to lose.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Speaking of playing not to lose, the Minnesota Vikings 3-0 and putting it on my Houston Texans 34-7. You and I have obviously noted, and you've really broken down very well the first couple of weeks, how CJ Stroud carrying over from last year,
Mhm.
looking like an extremely poised player, almost like a 10-year vet. What did you see unfold here, like right from the jump in this game that had the Vikings rolling?
I just see complementary football, running the ball, Aaron Jones, and then obviously you have, considered arguably the best receiver in the game right now in terms of Justin Jefferson. But I just see complementary football. I see them running the ball. I see the play action game working. I see Sam Darnold being extremely effective in the red zone and being able just to throw the ball all over the field. And he is spreading the ball around. I mean, Justin Jefferson, I think he had 6 catches or 8 catches in the first half for 81 yards and a touchdown.
Hmm.
But then you have Jalen Naylor, who also had a couple catches and a touchdown. I mean, the ball is being spread around to a lot of different people. So Justin Jefferson's going to get his targets and he's going to get his plays, but everybody else is getting the ball. And then when you're running the ball effectively, like they did with Aaron Jones on the ground, I mean, it's going to be hard to beat. And then the playbook is at the disposal of Kevin O'Connell. He can call anything because everything is working right now.
Hmm.
And how about Sam Darnold? Question for you, Pat. The way that everything is going right now, Sam Darnold continues to play like this.
Yeah.
What does it look like next year for JJ McCarthy? Do you continue to let him develop, or does Sam Darnold get, a nice 3-year deal, 2-year deal, and stay with Minnesota? Minnesota is going to have a dilemma if Sam Darnold continues to play like this in terms of what happens with the first round pick they just used on JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's one of them good problems, I think, right? Like, first, you get to that point, that probably means you won a couple playoff games, or you at least made the playoffs and won a
Mhm.
wild card game. And so you're sitting there feeling good about 2 quarterbacks on your roster, right? One is potential wise, but you're feeling good about 2 quarterbacks on your roster. Benny, I still think that where this team is at, like, even though they have some really good players on the roster, I still think they're building. I think O'Connell's doing even more with this roster than anyone expected. And again, they do have some good players, but like they're going to lose Harrison Smith sooner or later. He's up there in age.
Yep.
They got rid of Daniil Hunter. Obviously, he's no longer here. So there's somewhat of a youth movement there in some ways. I mean, don't tell that to Justin Jefferson, obviously, but I still think it trends towards JJ McCarthy taking over because remember the judgment of the Vikings coming in was, at least the word around the league was, this was going to be JJ McCarthy's job based on what they saw from him in camp and in the preseason. Like they saw enough to say, okay, this is even if Sam starts the first game and we roll into the season tiptoeing in with JJ, it's his job. So I think that their judgment on the level player he is leads them to stay in that direction, even if that happens. But easy for me to sit here and say that. I mean, if Darnold is like, if he plays this way throughout the season and he stays healthy, you're talking about being in the MVP conversation.
Yep.
And then if you're in the MVP conversation, you're not getting rid of your quarterback, right? So,
No,
um, you
it's
know,
tough.
I, I
It's
guess,
tough.
I guess that's why, these GMs get paid millions of dollars because that's not an easy call.
None of them shouldn't get paid anything, but hey, I'm not gonna talk about that.
What would you do?
If Sam continues to play like this, I bring him back, and then you just give JJ that much more time to develop because we know he's a really good quarterback, and you have, the injury rate in the NFL is 100%, so you're going to have injuries. But why not give JJ even more time to develop? You take the pressure off of him in terms of being a first round pick that has to play. You keep Sam Darnold there. I'd give
Yeah.
Sam Darnold a 2-year deal, guarantee it all. You know, I wouldn't pay him like a top quarterback for sure, but I'm definitely not going to give him a 4-year deal, but extend him for 2 more years and let him know that, hey, you're going to be the bridge because we drafted JJ. Just come in there, have an honest conversation with him. Yeah, you played well enough. You deserve some money, and we'll give you this money, but you're still the bridge quarterback because JJ McCarthy's our future.
No, I like it, especially because I think one of my axioms I try to live by, covering these teams and watching decisions of free agency is like, don't get rid of good players.
Yeah.
Sounds obvious, but I just feel like a lot of teams, especially the one I'm covering every day, it's kind of like, you get in the weeds of the details and it's like, wait, let's zoom out and say, is this a good player? Would it help our team if he's still here? Let's keep him.
Right.
So in that vein, your logic fits. And so, yeah, that's an interesting one though. Moving to a game where you mentioned earlier about contenders. That was actually a potential theme I was thinking about today. You're right. I think we need another week or two to really get into that. But what I'm going to ask you is the opposite of that. The New Orleans Saints dropping this game to the Eagles 15-12 at home. They came in the highest scoring team in the NFL against an Eagles defense that really, to me, looked horrific at times in the first couple of weeks of the season. And Saints playing at home, and they lay this egg. Are they pretenders? Is Dennis Allen's team a bunch of pretenders after laying this egg, or do you think Philly deserves credit for what they did?
This is one of the things that we talked about last week where I just don't know. I just don't have a strong belief. Like I played New Orleans in 2020, and I know some of those players that are still there, and they got some incredible talent, especially on the defensive side with Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore, Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, they got some incredible players there. But the offense, just the way Derek Carr was playing those first 2 weeks, I just never seen that out of him. And then, a guy who's in year 11 or year 12, whatever it may be for him, like you kind of know who you are at that point. And that's just what it is. So Alvin Kamara, I mean, he's real deal. Chris Olave, real deal. Juwan Johnson, heck of a player. Like they got some really good players on offense, but I just didn't believe, scoring on every drive so far this season was going to, continue to be sustainable. So I don't know if they're pretenders just yet. I got to see how they respond from this loss, what the next couple weeks look like in terms of the more talented teams that they're going to play, and see how they continue to shake out, because Carolina stinks, and then the Cowboys defense stinks. At least right now it does. So they scored some points on some defenses that really aren't that good, and Philly's got some decent talent, and they have a very veteran-led secondary and just defense overall. And then Vic Fangio's calling the play, so we'll see how they fare out. But Philly came to play, and how about Saquon scoring all the points and for the team, and then rushing for 147 yards.
It's like he's like a different player.
Watching him explode through the hole, watching him. This is what we saw coming out of the draft in terms of the Barry Sanders-like ability and his ability to make people miss, his ability to be a home run hitter. This is what we saw. And this is one of the things I said, going into week one, we will see great numbers from Saquon if he stays healthy all year. It's just the offensive line that he has, the holes that he can see, his vision and his ability to still run and be an explosive playmaker is still all there.
He's a dropped pass in week 2 against Atlanta away from maybe being the MVP front runner right now.
Absolutely.
It's really something to see. There was one thing I wanted to ask you in relation to the Vikings. We were talking about a team that moved to 3-0. We talked about the offensive side of the ball. Brian Flores' defense, of course, holding the Texans to 7 points. That's really an accomplishment. And Flores brings a lot of pressure. He mixes up the looks a lot. I wanted to know from your experience, having played with so many great players, great quarterbacks, of course, winning a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, and who sees the field better than him. Am I oversimplifying it to say, like, a guy like Wink Martindale, Brian Flores, these DCs that bring a lot of pressure, are they the most difficult defenses to play against for an offense? Or can I not group it and generalize it like that? Because to me, when I watch the games and I'm sitting there watching, them mixing up pressures, dropping guys who blitzed the previous down, switching from man to zone and back and forth, it seems like that multiplicity would confuse any quarterback. But I don't know, maybe they leave themselves vulnerable to things that other defenses don't.
I think it depends on who your quarterback is. And like you said, I was able to play with some really good quarterbacks. And I think about, if I think about, the Peytons, the Eli's, the Drew Breeses that I played with, they would always have hots. And a hot is where, hey, they know where the pressure's coming. They might give you 2 points. They might give you 1 point. And if your defender comes, then you have a different route. So I think it depends on who you're playing. And I think it depends on your quarterback and their offense and how they run things. I know when I was playing with Peyton, especially, we had different routes and combinations for all the pressures, but sometimes we would just go no huddle, and the defense would kind of have to line up and show what they're actually in. And then it slows the defensive coordinator down from bringing a lot of pressure. So, hey, we go no huddle, Peyton gets us into the right call, and then we go execute from there. And then if they're bringing a lot of pressure, I mean, that's where you would see Peyton throw those now screens to Demarius, and it's a 2-yard pass, but we take it for 70, 80 yards and a touchdown because of the pressure that was being brought, or we'd run certain slants or whatever looks we were getting. We had a lot of hots built into those pressures. So I think it really just depends. And when you have an offense like that Shanahan offense that's being ran in Houston, a lot of that stuff is called at the line, and a lot of it's under center. And I don't know all the hots that are built into that. And I don't recall any hots really being built into those offenses that I played in. And, Drew Brees and Eli, they'd give you a signal and they'd change the whole play just based off of what they saw. So, CJ's young in that game. And, the more times he sees these pressures or plays against Flores, the better off he'll be. Because I remember playing with Peyton, like we'd study the couple games before in terms of the pressures that we would get, but then we would also study the coordinator and how they played Peyton specifically, because you played Peyton a different way.
I love that. So he would have all the film queued up from the Colts days and everything if it went back that far.
He'd go back 10 years. Hey, I saw this pressure from 10 years ago based off of this coordinator that I played. Because, Rex Ryan would play Peyton different, or Belichick would play Peyton different than another quarterback. So we had to study the coordinator based off of how they played Peyton.
He would do that with you guys?
100%. Yeah, we're all on the same page. All got to be out there together. So yes, for sure.
Well, no, I just, I know that you guys, I know the quarterback is getting together, with the offense at times, but just trying to gauge like how unusual it was if he spent more time on that with the receivers, let's say, than, a normal quarterback would, or if that's just like
it wouldn't be just receivers. I mean, it'd be offense as a whole, Wednesdays and Thursdays, Fridays, and then it'd be skill players after practice. A Peyton-led team, there were no coaches in there watching film after practice. He wanted us only in there as players. Everybody call out your own mistakes, or, hey, this is what you got, because we're going to be the ones out there playing. So that's kind of how he would install his offense and how he would go about it.
Got it. You mentioned one of the themes you thought starting to develop was injuries around the league. And I think one of the games of the week, maybe one of the wins of the week, was the Rams beating the San Francisco 49ers here, avoiding an 0-3 start. Sean McVay's team banged up, no Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua, still beating a San Francisco 49ers team that also was down George Kittle and Deebo Samuel here, as well as Christian McCaffrey. Benny, why do you think the Rams were able to get this done? Because Purdy still had a really good game. Juwan Jennings went completely off, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns. So what was missing from the Niners in a game like this with those injuries? And then how did the Rams overcome that? I mean, from outside looking in, Matt Stafford without those 2 wide receivers, you struggle to figure out how they're going to score points.
Don't forget it's Matthew Stafford, guy who's been around the block, who can sling the pill, real gunslinger. So that's how they got the job done. And shout out to Sean McVay. I mean, just an incredible play caller. Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan both, they just know how to scheme up and draw things up with the roster that they are going into the game with. And shout out to Juwan Jennings, who I was in San Francisco my last year, and Juwan, incredibly fiery, competitive receiver, not only just, in terms of route running, but also blocking, and, will get in your face, talk shit to you, and make the play. So shout out to him in terms of the way that he played. But I think the 49ers, they didn't finish. And then, you also have to give credit to the Rams, and Matthew Stafford, can sling the ball and sling the pill with the best of them. And he is a comeback. He's the comeback kid, ultimate comeback kid. He's got a lot of game-winning drives and comeback performances, and, played some aggressive football. But when we're talking about playing with injuries and stepping up to the plate, I'd love to give just a shout out to Matt LaFleur, who's doing a phenomenal job right now. 2 wins.
Yeah.
Without his starting quarterback, without his franchise quarterback, but completely designing a new offense for Malik Willis, who got there a month ago. And you talk about implementing plays, implementing schemes to help your players play at their best and from their actual potential. I mean, he's doing an incredible job. Jaden Reed doing incredible. The running backs doing incredible. Just that whole receiver core. and the way that they're playing. Just playing complementary football. And I mean, that's how you coach. Okay, this is the player that I have. This is what he does well. I'm going to design the plays based off of that. And,
Mm.
when we're thinking about injuries, the Packers, they were talking about, it could be no playoffs because Jordan Love's going to be out for a few games. And the 2 wins that they have are without him.
And Xavier McKinney, the former Giant safety, an
Making
interception in
plays,
all 3 games
making plays.
to
Come on.
start the NFL season. That is something to see. But yeah, Benny, it's really interesting you mentioned that too, because absolutely it sticks out. Guys like O'Connell with Darnold, but then even more so right now, like you said, LaFleur with Malik Willis. And I guess my question, kind of to piggyback on that about Malik and the Green Bay Packers and what they're doing here, is how hard is it for a coach like LaFleur? Obviously, good offensive coach, but how hard is it to take a young player like Willis, who has, let's just face it, universally has been, labeled a bust, right?
Mhm.
As far as what panned out and didn't happen in Tennessee, how they used him, how he didn't produce, whatever the case may be, how he didn't play. How difficult is it for a coach to get that young player's confidence back to a point where they can then maximize this scheme? Because it's like, it's one thing to harness their talents, but then I feel like when I'm in locker rooms a lot, like there's guys where, like, look at Jalen Hyatt with the Giants right now. It's not the exact same thing, but when guys play less and they feel like they're not being used properly, mentally and emotionally, if they're either checking out or their shoulders are slumped. It's almost like they can't find the answers. So just wondering, how tough that is in the NFL when these guys are so proud and they've really never run into this before as athletes and as professionals, how that dynamic works.
I think it depends on the coach and their communication style.
Hmm.
I'd be curious to see, or, if the way I look at Malik Willis and the Green Bay Packers situation is, number one, they traded for him. That's a vote of confidence right before the season. That gives you a vote of confidence. Like, hey,
Good
we
point.
think you have the ability to come here and play. The conversation that Matt LaFleur probably had with him when he first got there probably gave him a plan of like, hey, we're going to develop you, and this is how we see you. Jordan Love goes down. He probably has a conversation with him one-on-one in terms of like, hey, you don't have anything to worry about. We're going to make this game easy for you. Easy completions. They give him a lot of easy completions. They keep him ahead of the sticks. They're doing a lot of there are different ways to get their playmakers the ball without him having to always throw the ball. It could be a reverse. It could be putting Jaden Reed in the background. It could be just these exotic runs that, get them a first down, and then the play action, and then using, hey, this is what you're really good at. We're going to get you out of the pocket on the run, and we're going to have you make some plays with your feet. So that's how I've seen the really good coaches do it. And then there are some bad coaches or people who just communicate bad in general in terms of they won't let you know anything. They won't tell you anything. They
Just
won't
like they do with the
communicate.
media, they do it with their own players.
Of course. And
Oh,
then the politics are being played, and you're watching the reps go up or down in the game or practice, and no one's communicating with you about where everything is at. The good coaches that I played for, hey, this is just what it is. Hey, this guy's playing better than you. Be ready to fill in, and this is how it's going to go. And then, when you're in some really shitty situations, those coaches, they're worried about their job. So they're not worried about telling you, hey, what's going on. And, with Hyatt, in New York, he's got God-given ability, and he can fly. But where's the conversation? And what's being had, and why is a guy like that, you can't find any reps for him on the field? I
right.
mean, if I just think about him and Slay on the outside, it's going to be hard to cover, and they're just both too fast. And then you got Malik Nabers in the slot along with Wan'Dale Robinson. So he's got to have some plays. I mean, he should be at least playing. Look, Pat, I was finding a way to play 25, 30 plays a game. He should be out there.
Yeah, well, like one of your many qualities was reliability.
Yeah.
And, and what I mean by that is whatever they asked you to do, you could do it, right?
Mhm.
If they asked you to run a certain route, they knew how you were going to run it. DJ felt comfortable how you were going to run it. He knew that he was going to rep that with you in practice. There's something going on with, like, Jalen Hyatt mentioned twice at the end of last week when we asked him about this whole did he ask for a trade story, which is true, by the way. He yelled it out in a practice. He said, like, if you're not going to use me, trade me. This was in the late summer. And one thing Hyde said a couple times was that we're doing what DJ is most comfortable with. And so there's something about, at least from Hyatt's point of view, the way that Daniel trusts Slay and some of these other guys compared to him, apparently. It was also, I guess, part of his pre-draft scouting report that he was somewhat of a one-trick pony, but he has made some plays. Like in the Buffalo game last year, he made a 4th down catch over the middle, took a hit to make a play, held on. And I felt like it was like, there it is. You know what I mean?
Did Sheen draft him?
Shane did draft him. He traded up for him. He traded a 4th round pick to trade up in the 3rd round to draft him. Yeah. So
Interesting.
Very interesting, especially because Slayton in the spring was saying, hey, if you're not going to use me a lot here, why don't, maybe we'll find somewhere else.
Yep.
Hyatt in the summer is saying, hey, if you're not going to use me, let's find somewhere else. So you basically have 2 of the Giants' top 4 wide receivers this year talking about a trade. So they're coming off, obviously, of an encouraging first half and a victory here against the Cleveland Browns, but obviously a lot still percolating underneath. We'll get right into that in a second. Remember, everybody, we are sponsored here, Talking Ball with Pat Leonard and here on First Down with Bennie Fowler, by MyBookie. MyBookie is celebrating its 10th year anniversary and rolling out the red carpet for bettors. You got to use my promo code. It's Pat's Picks. The link to MyBookie is in all of my social media profiles and bios. Click the link, use the promo code Pat's Picks at the cashier, and you will get your first deposit of $50 or more, all the way up to $1,000 matched 100%. Plus, you'll get a $10 casino chip. Football season, you got to make it a winning season with MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Also brought to you by Estate 98 Coffee, an all-natural specialty coffee with no sugar, convenient for on-the-go coffee drinkers. Go to estate98.com/talkingball for a special buy one, get one free deal. And brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, a natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants and heart-healthy compounds. You can put it in one of your favorite drinks. I do it with my coffee every morning and immediately feel the difference daily. Go to boomchaga.com to place your first order. And if you use the discount code TalkingBall25 or access it through the QR code on your screen, you'll get 25% off your first subscribe and save order. Right now, that means a month's supply costs you only $30. Start feeling the difference today at boomchaga.com. Benny, the Pittsburgh Steelers, 3-0, 20-10 victory here over the Los Angeles Chargers, and not really with much offense to speak of. But credit to Justin Fields, credit to Mike Tomlin that they're getting it done. Are these kind of situations sustainable? Like where they know they're winning, they know their defense is really tough, but like sooner or later, aren't you just going to run into a situation where your offense isn't good enough? Or am I being, too critical? It's a 3-0 team and they deserve credit for it.
They do deserve credit for being 3-0, and they've beat some pretty good teams in terms of at least the defenses that they're going against. The Chargers got a pretty decent defense. The Broncos got a pretty decent defense. And I think they played Atlanta, the first week of the season. That's a pretty decent defense. So
good point. Yeah.
Justin Fields is going to continue to get a rhythm. Right now, the way I kind of think about it is, can that offense sustain it? And it reminds me of the year, maybe 2017, my last year in Denver. We started off like 3-1. And, our offense was okay. We weren't doing crazy numbers, but our defense was so good. And then we lost 8 straight, So I'm not saying that the Steelers are going to lose 8 straight, but, sometimes it is smoke and mirrors in the first half of the season in terms of what you actually and who you actually are. But I still think when you have a playmaker like Justin Fields at quarterback, a lot can be done. And he's not turning the ball over. He's quite efficient actually with the football, running the ball, 245 yards, no picks. I think he maybe had 1 interception, but he's not really turning the ball over a lot. And then he can use his legs and he's dynamic. And the way their defense is playing, they're playing complementary football. They're going to be rushing the ball. So this actually can work for Pittsburgh because that's that type of they've had this type of team before, and they've won with this type of team before in terms of, they can win some of the ugly games and they can win with defense. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I wouldn't bet on them, but I always bet that with the defense, and I've played with incredible defenses before that can win you a lot of games.
Interesting. Antonio Pierce, the Raiders coach, the former Giants standout linebacker, after the 36-22 loss to Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers, he called out some of his players, Benny. He said that there were some guys on the field making business decisions, and so the Raiders were going to make business decisions. As a player, take me inside a locker room where your head coach says something like that. What are the players doing? What are the players talking about? Is there kind of a split between guys who are angry at those players and guys who know who he's talking about? Is it just bad all around that the head coach is calling guys in the locker room out like this? Take me into the player's mindset here.
Yeah, if I'm a player sitting in that moment, the first thing that I'm going to think about, especially just with my undrafted mind, is like, oh my God, is he talking about me? I'm going to look at the film like, what's going on with me? How did I play? And then if I know I played hard, then okay, he must be talking about somebody else. If I'm a star player, I wouldn't care at all. It's like, I mean, who are you? Okay, if I made a business decision, whatever. If I made a business decision, my money's probably guaranteed. So like, I'm not worried about that.
You're not cutting me, right?
You're not gonna, and if you are, like, you're gonna pay my money, and I'm gonna get picked up somewhere else. I'm curious to see why he went, or why he talked like that to the media. Why would you not just talk to your team about, hey, some of this stuff I saw was unacceptable, and then you take it to the team meeting, and then you show those plays, and like, hey, this isn't Raiders football, or this isn't acceptable. I wouldn't go to the media about that. I wouldn't do that, but it's a lot of emotion. He's probably pissed. So not probably, he was pissed. So I'd be curious to see who he was talking about and what those business decisions actually look like. If it's a Max Crosby making a business decision, what are you going to do? You're not going to get rid of him. He's your best player. So, I wouldn't be worried.
You got bigger problems as a coach if it was Max Crosby, right?
100%. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, Pierce took over there largely because he was the one that players were responding to and that they said could motivate them compared to Josh McDaniels, right?
Always
And
know, Pat, that motivation is fleeting. It only lasts for so long, where you're like, oh, I'm going to play for him. I'm going to play for this coach. Like that it goes away after a while. The season's just too long. Then you have to go out there and play real football, and you have to really scheme up people. It's not just going to be one off of, we're motivated and we're just going to out effort people. Like, scheme goes into it. Coaching goes into it. Like, Carolina won yesterday and they looked like a real team. They're motivated right now. They got some new life and new energy with Andy Dalton being in there, but they're still not good. Like, that's one win. And any given Sunday in this league, you can play well and win, but like, just because they look like that this week, like, can you do that every week? And when the emotion dies down, it's just football. So yeah, the Carolina looked great this past weekend, but are they going to have that same type of fiery passion in 5 weeks? Same thing for the Raiders last year. You finish off strong when Antonio Pierce is a coach for 4 weeks. Now you got a whole offseason, and now you got to do it for 17 weeks.
You make an interesting point. I know every situation is different, and you're not saying every single situation, but this is an interesting thing to keep in mind when teams hire their interim, right? Because what you're saying is that in the situations where the interim does come in and galvanize the group, you have to be careful about making the judgment on that coach's ability based on that motivational stretch, because sooner or later he's going to have to give you a schematic advantage, essentially.
Yeah, I still think he's a good coach, but like, they're not going to win any more games now off of emotion and playing for Antonio Pierce. It's like, no, are we a better team? And can we go beat these guys?
Interesting. No, great point. 2 quick things, and then we'll get out of here. I know your time is short. Wanted to make sure we mentioned Denver beating Tampa. This game came out of nowhere to me.
Any given Sunday, Pat.
What happened here? Like 26-7, Bo Nix, the rookie quarterback, and the Denver Broncos.
Bo played really efficient. Sean gave him a lot of confidence. I think that, they came out passing on the first drive. Sean's first 15 plays usually are, spot on in terms of the looks that you're going to see. And he also knows Tampa really well, just being in that division for so long and I won't say dominating, but Sean dominated that division for a very long time. And when I was in New Orleans in 2020, Todd Bowles was the defensive coordinator and Bruce Arians was the head coach. And I mean, we scored a lot of points on them. So he knows that defense in and out, and he was able to scheme it up.
I didn't think of that. Benny, this is why we have you on, man. All right. And last thing, Baltimore 28, Dallas 25. I want to, obviously a huge win for Baltimore, avoiding falling to 0-3. Want to focus on Dallas, though, and kind of look real quickly with you in the next 3 minutes or so before you have to get out of here at Cowboys Giants. So the Cowboys, I think the line opened at -6.5 at the Giants. It's now -5 Cowboys at the Giants. Just want to know from your vantage point, what is Dallas right now? Because they're allowing something like 185 yards rushing per game after Baltimore ran wild with Henry and Lamar Jackson. I just want to know what you think Dallas is after seeing them through 3 weeks, and then how you forecast the game going against the Giants, because the Giants are 0-4 under Daboll and Shane against the Cowboys. They've been outscored 140-53, I believe it is, in those 4 games. But Dallas kind of looks vulnerable here too. So just want to know what you think of that in the matchup.
Dallas for sure is vulnerable, but they have a lot of confidence playing against New York. Dak has a lot of confidence playing against New York. I just think that, they've always had a lot of confidence. Dak plays really well and plays really efficient against the Giants, at least, since I was there and since he's been playing in that division. So, if I'm the Giants, run the ball, clearly run the ball or try to establish the run. But to me, Dallas has an identity crisis on defense. They're already pointing fingers at one another and talking about accountability. And when I see that, that I see trouble on the horizon for this team in the season. They have a lot of expectations, but the way Michael Parsons was answering the questions and DeMarcus Lawrence, it's like, oh my gosh, it's week 3 and you guys are already pointing fingers at one another. And when people talk about accountability, they need to start with themselves first. Oh, we need to hold each other accountable. Well, start with yourself. Call yourself out, because I think you guys are, your rushes or your defense is built to pass rush. Micah, go back to middle linebacker or linebacker. That's where you got drafted at anyway. If people aren't doing what they're supposed to, step up and go make the play. That's what the great players that I played with would do. They would call out themselves first, not everybody else, and talk about Superman ball or superhero ball. That's how he plays anyway. He plays superhero ball to me. So
I hear you. Right. Yeah. He swoops in when they're up 14 for a sack to seal the game, but isn't consistent. He's not consistent.
Yeah. I want to see you on all 70 plays.
So right. So you see, no matter how Thursday goes, in general, you see trouble on the horizon for Dallas because of these signs that you're seeing. Yep.
100%, especially when it comes to the run game. And then you got Saquon in the division now. I expect Saquon to have crazy numbers against Dallas.
If you're not starting Saquon Barkley in fantasy the week that he plays the Dallas Cowboys, you're not listening. Yeah. Benny, thank you so much. This has been First Down with Bennie Fowler, week 3. Benny, we will see you in week 4. Should be a fun one. Thanks again.
Appreciate you, Pat.
That was First Down with Bennie Fowler. Always a great breakdown of the NFL's matchups and action each week. Remembered, we are sponsored here by MyBookie. MyBookie has its 10th year anniversary, and they're rolling out the red carpet for bettors. You can bet confidently with risk-free Thursdays. You can use our promo code PATSPICKS on the link in all of my social media profiles and bios. Click the link, use PATSPICKS, the promo code, at the cashier, and you will get a 100% match on your first deposit of $50 or more, up to $1,000, plus a $10 casino chip. If you're already playing at MyBookie, make sure you sign up for their brand new loyalty rewards program. It's called MyBookie Plus. The more you play, the more you earn, and you can progress through tiers, unlock exclusive promotions and giveaways, and get cash back into your account. Make football season a winning season with MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Also brought to you here at Talking Ball with Pat Leonard by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, a natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants and heart-healthy compounds. You can easily pour this natural liquid supplement into any of your favorite drinks. I put mine in my coffee every morning and immediately feel the difference. I personally have felt a post-workout-like energy boost with Boom. Chaga also has the ability to lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve immune and heart health with its beta-glucans and antioxidants. Go to boomchaga.com today to place your first order. And if you use the discount code TalkingBall25 or access it through the QR code on your screen, you'll get 25% off your first subscribe and save order. Right now, that means a month's supply costs you only $30. Start feeling the difference today at boomchaga.com. Also brought to you here at Talking Ball with Pat Leonard by Estate 98 Coffee, an all-natural specialty coffee with no sugar, convenient for on-the-go coffee drinkers. Takes me less than 10 seconds to make a delicious Estate 98 iced coffee and only a minute more to make it hot coffee latte from this all-natural concentrate. Go to estate98.com/talkingball to get a special buy one, get one free deal. See you next time on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard here on the Believe Network.